Hi everybody, and welcome to my presentation on the Horizon Report. My two topics are the rise of STEM learning and the achievement gap in schools. I'm going to start with my first topic of the rise in STEAM learning. Most of you have heard, and many have probably heard of STEAM, but STEAM is the recent offshoot of STEM learning. STEM, of course, is science, technology, engineering, and math. And the idea is to help boost innovation and build economies for the digital age. There's an emphasis in schools on STEM learning. The next offshoot, which is STEAM, which is STAM. It's a growing emphasis on STEM, combined with the arts, design, and humanities. It's basically giving soft skills to the digital curriculum. The A in STEAM stands for A+. The premise is to have cross-curricular teaching to break down traditional barriers across subjects. The goals of the STEAM movement are to provide and promote cross-curricular learning, to break down traditional barriers among subjects, and to connect learning to real-life examples for students. One of the examples is this project called Level Up Village. It's a cross-cultural experiment where students from the U.S. worked with students from Africa to build a website to combat climate change. Students brainstormed solutions and ideas to combat the problem, and then collaborated on building a website to publish their findings. And they developed, by using their soft skills of brainstorming, critical thinking, higher order thinking from the arts, they also combined that with their technical skills of actually building a website. So they were learning to code, to web design, and this is one of the examples of cross-cultural, cross-curriculum development that's part of the STEAM movement. One other example is Finland. As a country, they realized they weren't doing some things right, so they made some changes nationwide. They changed their entire educational system to prioritize interdisciplinary topics into core curriculum for basic education, not just STEM, but for basic education. They wanted to begin, so an example that they do is students begin with large cross-disciplinary topics. They pose questions and then work collaboratively within teams to construct answers from different study areas. Proponents of the STEAM movement suggest that, and they argue that the STEAM movement fosters the learning process itself, that it allows for flexible outcomes, it increases student initiative and drive, it allows kids to have trial and error, and they also have the ability through the STEAM movement to express their learning in different ways, differentiated instruction. Research is also showing the value of arts and curriculum. There are studies that show that learning to play instruments develop habits that promote higher level thinking. And then this example right here is actually one that's near and dear to my heart. It's a real-life example of a company here in Wisconsin. Many of you have heard of Ariens. They're a manufacturer in northeast Wisconsin where they make snowblowers, lawnmowers, things like that, outdoor power equipment. And they are a very large manufacturer with facilities right here in Wisconsin. It's near and dear to my heart because they're located in Brillion, Wisconsin, which was where I grew up and went to school and graduated. And my parents are both retired from Ariens as factory workers. And what Ariens did was show the example of the need for STEM skills in the career field, such as modern manufacturing. And Ariens decided to do something about it. And they put millions of dollars into That's the actual classroom, actually, a picture of it, to develop a STEM lab environment for kids from K-4 through high school in the Brillion School District. And it's become a model nationwide for companies collaborating with schools to focus on building STEM skills. So, to go back a little bit, sorry, I just had a little hiccup there. Sorry about that. I'm going to go back to Reading View and the Rise of STEAM. I'm going to go through this again. And we're back to errands. Okay. That was an overview of the rise of STEAM learning, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, plus, and math. And my next subject is also is regarding achievement gap. And as I just stated, I'm from Brillion, which is a small rural town in northeast Wisconsin with it's largely in its past agricultural and manufacturing. And as with many Rust Belt little towns, it's been hit hard. The local foundry just closed a couple years ago, which for many years was a source of great middle class manufacturing jobs. Aaron's is doing well, but I chose Achievement Gap because it is near and dear to my heart because of my family's and my own involvement in from rural. And then I've also lived in large metropolitan areas such as San Diego, California, and now the Milwaukee metro area. So the achievement gap is the observed disparity in academic performance among groups. Significant areas where the gap exists are socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, and gender. It can also include geographic inequalities such as rural or urban, and lack access to educational opportunities in and out of the school. Some of the background, socioeconomic status, or SES, is one of the big gaps that is continually researched and tried to be addressed. Low SES and student success are linked in multiple ways. They lack learning materials and inability to pay for basic health needs such as medicine. Kids get sick, they can't get well. It leads to absenteeism and low achievement. U.S. schools with low SES have recurring problems such as low teacher retention and fewer advanced classes that impact student achievement. I found it interesting when I was studying this topic out a little bit that some of the highest gaps exist in relatively prosperous areas. So it's not just an urban problem, it's not just a rural problem, it's a system-wide problem. Also interesting is that teacher bias. It's a very real issue, and it's very critical to student success. Students of color are less likely to be recommended for advanced learning support, even with appropriate test scores. And found this interesting too is that girls' achievement in math, when studied in elementary schools, is not seen as equal to boys unless the teacher perceives that the girl is working harder than the boys and behaving better than the boys in class. And that, of course, leads to perceptions about girls and later women with regard to math and STEM skills, and leads to gaps. Implications for policymakers. Now that we've gone over some of the issues regarding it, some of the implications. Money alone is not enough to solve the problem. Dialogue needs to happen on all levels to address root causes of the gaps. Sharing of ideas and best practices has to happen as well. It's an all-hands-on-deck problem that needs real answers. It's not just going to go away on its own. And then finally, some practical examples of innovation in practice. Community schools serve as examples. Some of these schools provide health access to address the problem of low SES students to address basic needs such as healthcare. And it allows for less absenteeism in the classroom. One example that they highlighted in the report was a charter school in New York City. The school deals with chronic homelessness, incarcerated parents, and even criminal arrests in the student population. So they did something about it. They gave students access to counselors, attorneys, dentists, and others. And after years of underperforming, the school has been able to achieve nearly the same graduation rate as citywide students in New York City. So those are some of the examples and some of the issues regarding the rise of STEAM learning and the achievement gap. So thank you.